continue.
I will
Okay.
say, got it. Nice. All right.
Okay, so I will share screen and see if this works.
Beauty.
One more time.
There you go. You're smart. There we go.
Okay, well, I don't know about that. Let's pull up your doc, which is here. There we go. Love it when a plan works out. Okay.
Yeah, right? Okay. We're rocking and rolling now.
Yes,
Perfect.
we are. So before we actually go to the doc, I have to say I am so impressed and proud when I watched your one-on-one with Mark,
Oh, thank you.
rocking out the wins. So I want to congratulate you on 5 wins. He's like 3 to 5, and I was like, oh, I think I can get 3 out, and you just rocked 5. So
Thank you.
congrats on that. And these were like mega wins, in my opinion. So
Well, thank you.
have you ever written down wins before?
Yeah, so funny. I definitely have. So like I journal all the time, but I generally journal in like point form or note form. So I hadn't done it to the, like the story work, right? I hadn't done it in such a, like, I always view this as like part of like your autobiography. Like if you're typing your own autobiography up, you know what I mean? So
It's a
you
great
have
way to
like
look at
a
it.
little bit more context and everything. I usually just write down like 3 key words and keep it nice in point form. So to answer the question, yes, I do, but not to the extent that we did here.
Okay. Wow. So that's great. It's interesting when Mark talks about journaling is writing down your feelings, but it's not the same as doing the story work. How did it feel writing? But I guess even more, I'm more curious, how did it feel when you finished, when Mark's like, okay, everybody fill out some wins in the doc, how did it feel after you wrote those 5 and had time to process, like, wow, I got that down. I've done all that. Like, how did that make you feel?
Yeah, no, good question. So for me, it's like it was, I like the analogy, it's like a snowball, right? So the first one you do, it's kind of, you're getting warmed up, you're stretching. And then by the second or third one, it becomes easier. And by the fourth or fifth one, it's almost like they've compounded on top of each other. And you've really got this, like, you've really changed the energy in your body. And yeah, it's really built up this momentum. And it's kind of like the analogy of the snowball. So by the end, it's just like this massive, ball of positive energy by the end. So I think it's like anything else. It's initially that first one can be a little bit of like head scratching because you're kind of putting yourself on the spot. But then as soon as you identify, okay, that actually is pretty easy to identify and it feels good to word. And then I think by that point, your brain is really starting to look for it. And then it becomes easier. And then by the 5th one, you're like, yeah, let's do this, right? Yeah, you get all
Right.
jacked up, right?
You can feel the transformation and the dynamic there.
Completely.
Did it make you have a different perspective of your level of productivity when you think about where you were? I know you mentioned about having a career change, and I don't know what transpired in making you think like, well, I want to coach. I want to make that my primary career or my sole career.
Right.
What transpired when you made that decision and that commitment, and then took that time to go back and reflect? What does it say that how you felt about that, looking back, that you made that decision, and now you've come so far in just your in your various and I wrote down so I wouldn't forget, but your because I had the recovery roadmap. I have not, I'm not familiar with that, and the Creative Minds Conservatory. So
yeah,
how did it feel to, I'm curious of your feelings when you were having those initial thoughts of, I want to make a career change and I want to go into coaching, and then I'm going to take these courses to prepare me for this new career. How did it feel to look back, and not just from the doc, but when you look back at the actual instances of those courses that you've taken? You're already working on, I think, your level 2. It's going to go into I don't know if it's the Creative Minds or the roadmap, but one of them you're working on level 2 that's going to go into next year. So not just how to feel to look back of what you wrote in the doc, but to really process the magnitude of just the steps. We're not talking an overnight thing. It was what, 50 or 40 something lessons in that one course.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a significant amount of time. So when you look back on just the accomplishments of even just those 2 courses and the time invested, and of course, not just the time, but the in the courses, but the work, the processing of that, how did that make you feel? Because that's on another level of just, I have 5 wins in my doc.
Definitely. No, thanks. Yeah, it does feel great. It's because when you're doing it, I don't know how it is for you, but when you're in it and you're doing it, uh, it's easy to kind of lose sight of, to your point, like the magnitude of it, or
Mhm.
so it's nice to have those points of reflection where you can look back and go, you know what, that was quite a bit to take on and get through. And man, I've learned like so much from doing it, and I'm going to be able to transfer that moving forward as well. So yeah, it's key really to be able to because there was a lot of times, especially like during some of the learning curve periods, where you start getting the imposter syndrome, or getting down on yourself, or whenever you're learning something, you're challenging yourself to learn something new. It's completely out of your comfort zone and everything, right? So absolutely, it's very important to be able to look back and go, you know what, I did accomplish that. And some of the stuff that Mark had me write out, I'm still using right now. Like I typed up all the different ones that we did in my call with them, and I'm saying them every day. I think I'm on day 19 now, so it's
When you
great,
say
like
day
having
19 of writing down, because I watched your, lots happened since I watched your one. So what, when you say
yeah.
writing down each day?
So these ones were actually what came out of the call. So it's just basically the ones that Mark came up for me.
Okay,
Uh,
gotcha.
like I am in me, I delivered my goals, my visions come to reality. So everything that's right on the Google Doc, I just
Oh,
printed.
you wrote on a separate, okay, gotcha, okay.
Right. So that's how I start my day, is like I'll
Oh, so
read
you have your
the
own affirmation page.
totally, exactly. That's exactly right.
That's a great
So
idea. I do Post-its, but that's nice because then you have
ooh,
multiple in one place.
totally. I love the post-its thing too. That's cool. That's what you do, eh?
Yeah,
So
yeah. I have
yeah,
microwave, I have the bathroom
cool.
mirror.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
love
but
the
that's good
bathroom
because
mirror.
now you're pooling multiple affirmations on one page. So that's like the most bang for the buck you can get.
Right. Yeah. It just gets you in that, like, again, like we're talking about, like the theme sort of like momentum so far is like, so by the end, the first one you tried on, and it's the first thing you say to yourself to start the day. But then by the end, by the time you've hit that like 13th or 14th or whatever is on the sheet there, and you're just like, your entire physiology has changed, your shoulders go back a bit. You're like, yeah, like, you know what I mean? It
Yeah,
just
you
gives you
start rocking it.
yeah, right. For sure.
Awesome. All right, so let's start with your first one. I think that would let's see. Yep, that's perfect. Now is your font, everything's good, you can see clearly and
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
good to
Thanks
go.
for asking. Yeah, I'm good.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
All
sure.
right, so let's have you go ahead and read the first win.
Sure. All right. So win number one, podcast promotion. I relaunched slash reformatted my podcast this past April. I started getting some really killer guests from all over the map, musicians, producers, entrepreneurs, life coaches, etc. Recently, I decided to outsource an Apple podcast promotion in order to increase my listenership. I was blown away when my listenership went up 97%, seemingly overnight. My subscriptions increased by the same, and I received 15 five-star reviews. I was totally blown away. This is a win for me. This is a win for me, as even a year ago, I wouldn't have been fine, or I would have been fine with a more modest audience size. I feel much more abundant these days. This is a direct reflection of that.
Awesome. How did it feel to read that?
Good, accurate. It's exciting. I kind of almost started chuckling when I see 97% seemingly overnight, and completely true. A year ago, I seemed to be perfectly fine in that sort of more of like a anonymous, happy with I guess a more limited listenership, and going, eventually one day I'll get to the point where I can do that, and now realizing that one day is now. Well, why can't it be right now?
Now I do my translations one slight difference. Instead of writing so that for a lot of my clients that are either not familiar with this work, but I also like to see the progression of where they started in their mindset and how they can get there. So I don't delete and change the words, I just rewrite it below. So that's kind of my style.
Oh, cool. I like it.
So I want you to go ahead and read that sentence.
Okay. I'll get to that goal one day.
And take a breath. And then when you're ready, you're going to read the next one.
Okay. I get to that goal.
And then take a breath. And how does that feel? Are you feeling, does that transfer or incite any feelings physically in the body when you say that?
Yeah, I definitely like that second one quite a bit. The first one gives me that sort of tingly feeling. How else to describe it? I've never really tried to describe this feeling of the first one, but I feel it often. It's sort of this background static that I have a fair bit when in my self-talk, when I'll tell myself these types of things like, oh, that's not for right now, that's for later. And, trying to organize tasks or just my life in such a way. And then it creates this strange sort of, how to describe it? Just nervous energy. It's like the energy you get when you've had like one cup of coffee too many.
Well, I don't drink much coffee, so one cup of coffee, I could drive for hours.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, so I'm the opposite of Mark. I am not a coffee addict. So I know that feeling.
Okay. Whereas the second one, I could already feel it instead of like, this like sort of vibrational force field off of me. It felt a lot more internal, a lot more grounded, and still rang true. So it landed very, very strongly with me as well.
Wonderful. And now I'm going to write this one, and you tell me which one, I know we're playing around with our tense. Which one resonates of those two more with you?
Sure. Okay.
So you can read it and take a breath.
So I got that goal.
Oops.
You know what? It's a funny thing. I like them both quite a bit. I get to that goal. I think just because I have so many goals on my, on my radar, I really like them both. If I had to pick, I would say I get to that goal because that still implies the best is yet to come.
Okay. Let's go with this. Oops. So I know it's a little bit more verbose, but playing around here a little bit. So read that.
Okay.
And tell me how, and breathe.
I achieved my listenership goal way ahead of schedule. Cool. Yeah, I like it.
I went with that because you was like, well, when you referenced, well, I have a lot of goals, but since this particular win is pertaining strictly to the listenership goal, right? And that may not even been a goal perhaps in the forefront when you say, wait, I scroll, let me just see if get the whole win in there. I just moved my screen. Okay. When you said I was fine with, a more modest audience size. So it sounded like it's something that, like you were saying, down the road. So it might be a more of a long-term goal. And, by taking one action, that long-term goal got achieved in a very short turnaround. So that's why I kind of went with the, incorporating the listenership in there to make this translation more specific to this win.
I like it. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm sorry. So, and does that feel, how does that feel when you say that one?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because I wouldn't have been able to put my finger on it, until you kind of articulated what you were going for with it. I definitely felt a sense of joy and relief relief was, it was kind of like, I guess if you use the analogy, like if you're tasting something, like the initial taste was joy and then the aftertaste was relief. Kind of a weird analogy, but so I had like a nice wave of relief at the end, and I wasn't really sure where that came from. But when you're talking, basically relieving myself of something that I had, a ways down the road, and it's already come to fruition and taken care of. I think it's safe to say, take out the I think, that's what created that sense of relief. So super cool. I like it.
Wait, I remember one little one difference here.
Cool.
And read that one and breathe.
I like it already. Okay.
But you did. I mean, I would say it's true from an outside perspective of reading your win, but go ahead, you read and breathe.
Sure, yeah. I rocked my listenership goal. I mean, it's fun. It's fun to say I did. So this is when we're talking about like the celebrating the wins. That starts to me, it kind of like borders on like bragging, but it's also fun. But I think that touches on like the like my whole, and Mark has been kind of unpacking the whole like humble thing, that don't be humble, because humble's, that sort of negation acknowledged. But like trying to focus on being comfortable saying these types of things. So there's definitely a playful nature to it, but somewhere inside of me, I feel like I'm bragging when I say it too, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
Kind of
now, having that been said, do you feel that you maybe perhaps you wouldn't self-talk acknowledge, maybe not at your comfort level just yet to say that to somebody on the outside? I mean, maybe to your significant other, to Darcy,
yeah.
or
Yeah,
but
yeah.
how, if you think about it as like a translation for your own, even if it's not something that you would share, how does it make you feel if you think about it as an affirmation? Would you use that as an affirmation in your own mind and on your paper, on your affirmation sheet, that maybe only you see, like for your eyes only? Is that something that maybe if you feel, well, I feel like I'm bragging, I'm not sure I would say that to someone else, if you said it to yourself, would it be a statement that you'd be like, I did this, like your verbal pat on the back, so to speak?
Yeah. No, that's a really good question. So I think it's sort of time and place. I would add it in at certain points where I would, I think where I'm already in that state where I'm already fully celebrating wins and things are just going really well and I'm super stoked. I can sort of playfully say that to myself and believe it. And I wouldn't have any second guessings of it. Be like, well, that's a little braggadocious, don't you think? Right. So I definitely could, but I'd have to be in the right state of mind. Funny you mentioned, I've never analyzed like my affirmations. I think my affirmations are a lot more, or not more, I guess factual, less, I didn't want to use a negation, but less playful than this. I generally have them a little more like neutral sounding, but I do like I like what that did to me. It definitely lightened it. I like it.
Okay, good. So a little outside the box, outside the comfort zone.
Definitely.
I wanted to focus on something else, but I'm just looking at the where it was. Okay, so go ahead and read that one. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me
Oh, no problem.
Oh, jumped a little too far there.
Yeah, no problem.
Whoops.
Okay, that one there. All right.
Yeah, and then breathe.
So I was blown away. My listenership went up 97%. So the only thing that I noticed different about that one, when it's kind of in a vacuum, when it's like isolated by itself, is I guess the blown away part, like the surprise, we're granted I was, but when it's by itself, it starts to imply that I wasn't worthy of having to go up to that percentage, if you know what I mean. Even though I think the blown away part is because 97% is quite substantial. If it had been 20% and I said I was blown away, it would speak a little bit more to that about like the self-worth issues potentially, right? I don't know if that makes sense, but it felt a little bit like when it's just by itself and out of the context of the rest of the story, it felt like, I think there was a phrase that Mark had used on a couple of the people's calls where there's a certain word or phrasing of something implies that you're surprised. Like I almost blah, blah, blah. I think it's something along those lines. And this one kind of like had that vibe to it a little bit.
Okay. I think what caught me was you mentioned two places in that one win, quote, blown away. And that's what, when I was reading it, I was like, well, that's what really struck me. So that's kind of where the direction where I was thinking of, focusing on a translation as just one of the places was, because you think about how often do we say to ourselves, wow, I did that. That blew me away, but in a great way, because it wasn't like something that, things can catch us off guard in life, like unexpected. But they could be something traumatic in a bad way. It could be something that's neither positive nor or negative. It's just, you didn't see it coming. But this is like blown away from an accomplishment that you did.
Right.
Oh, okay. So how about this?
Okay.
Read that, please.
Cool. I was blown away by my accomplishment.
And breathe. Now, how does that feel? Is there any different response when you see that or read that?
That one feels more personal. That one definitely felt, again, if you're using like the compass, it's kind of starting to point inwards more so than the last one for sure.
Okay. And read that, please, and breathe.
I am blown away by my accomplishment. Cool. That one seemed more or felt more firm.
Why don't you say that a couple more times?
Sure.
Let that sink in a little.
Sure. I am blown away by my accomplishment.
And see, so I'm sorry, see if when you read it the next one or two times, if you change the intonation and if one, emphasizing one part of that statement as opposed to a different part of the statement, if the resonance within or the feeling changes for yourself.
Sure, for sure. I am blown away by my accomplishment. I am blown away by my accomplishment. I am blown away by my accomplishment. I liked hitting the word accomplishment at the end. I liked ending it with the punctuating accomplishment.
Okay. So I'm going to make one change just for you, just for your doc, because this is something I've been experimenting with my clients, and it's been interesting. So this way, if they go back and read it, they understand the progression. And what I do is I simply, whichever part of the statement resonates most with them.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
I put that in capitals so that they, looking back, say several months from now, you're just going back and looking at your doc and you're like, so this way it's almost like recording for yourself what, where the emphasis resonated most with you. And that's just my own little kind of twist on that. on that.
Yeah,
Okay,
I like it. Cool.
awesome. Let's scroll to, oops, sorry,
No problem.
little heavy on the finger there. Okay, let's go ahead and read the second.
All righty. Okay, so win number 2, going back in time. I left my position as assistant store manager earlier this year. I was offered a quick stint to go back to this role temporarily for 6 weeks for November into Christmas. I said yes, as I get to work with one of my favorite store managers, someone I've always looked up to, quite literally, as he's 6'9". The first few shifts weren't easy. I felt my body reject the choice, or my choice. I was disappointed in myself. I felt like I had taken a huge step backwards. Luckily, I bounced back very quickly. After a night of allowing myself to feel this way, I then coached myself through it. I was able to recalibrate and reframe my situation. I am proud of myself for being able to do this so genuinely and quickly. The store was none the wiser to my reservations, and things have been going swimmingly ever since.
How does it feel to read that?
Good. Yeah, good. So the first part, I remember the feeling. I remember being quite upset.
Upset,
And
upset with what?
with myself.
Okay,
Um, Having said that, being able to bounce back quickly, and that, I guess that's how I worded it. I bounced back very quickly. Yeah. To me, that's the win, because there's a lot of work that I've been doing over the last few years, but specifically over the last 6-8 months. I've always felt that I've been one of my, pillars, I guess, or strengths has been resiliency. But to be able to do it as quickly as I did here and maturely is definitely the win for me, because I think there would be, even a year ago, I would have suffered more for the better part of a week, or I would have let it show at the store, or I would have reached out to Scott, who's the store manager, going, I don't know about this, and made it somewhat awkward, because then he would be like, oh, well, where do we go from here? But I just kept it to myself. I worked it through with myself, and I'm perfectly happy with where it's gone now. And a lot of that, I think, is the work that I've been doing, and the help of the Enlifted community, and the work that we've been doing here with Mark, and people like yourself and everybody in the crew here. So that's the win for me, to be able to take something that I was very strongly upset about, and to be able to flip it very quickly was a big win. And I'm proud of myself for being able to do that so quickly, I guess.
great. What does that say about you, that you went outside your comfort zone in a way? And I don't just mean for making the career change. I mean for, having that hesitation initially of, oh, did I make the right decision here? Did I, November to Christmas may not, it's 6 weeks. It's not like it's a 6-month or 6-year commitment, but that's not what's important, right? It's negation acknowledged. It's the fact that you made a decision, then questioned that decision, but stuck with it and saw it through. And like you said, the win is in how you bounced back so quickly. So what does that say about you, that you made a decision, questioned it, and stuck with it, and saw it through to the other side, and it turned out to be what is a great win for you? What does that say about you, and how that might influence you moving forward?
Yeah, really good question. So I think the two things that come to mind right away is much more aware. And by aware, I mean sort of in like the meditation sense, where you're sort of behind your thoughts and feelings. So you're giving, so I guess acceptance would be the other thing, awareness and acceptance. So accepting my feelings for what they are, not beating myself up about it, not realize, what I did actually, I remember, because like the day that I felt like this was on, I want to say on probably call 2 or 3 of level 2 here. And what I did is I tried to, so I'm going to be working every Monday, 7 to 4. And for me, the call starts right at 4. So what I tried to do was, take the call as I was driving home during rush hour. And then as soon as I got home, halfway through the call, rush inside, my dogs are wanting to play with me. And I'm like, no, I can't. And, sitting down, just too rushed. And, and by the end of the call, I hung up. I realized like half of it, I was kind of half paying attention to, half not, because, I was paying attention, driving. And I just said, what am I doing? Like, it was almost like the two worlds finally collided, like the new me stepping back with the old me, and they had collided, and it did not make me feel good at all. And so anyways, what I ended up doing during the call, because I was feeling this, I started doing like writing out statements of purposely of like negations, because I'm like, I know myself well enough that I'm going to be like, being hard on myself briefly. So I allowed myself to be able to do that. And I was writing about, but then doing like the whole abracadabra thing and refining it and picking what the actual truth was there and the true statements. So that's what I mean by self-coaching. I literally was doing the steps that we've been, working on here in Enlifted during the call, because I was just too distracted. So, and, you have that energy anyways, and you're hearing everybody. So I was still listening and paying attention, but I was kind of also scribbling down beside me in my scribbler, just some of my thoughts. And honestly, that really helped. And then afterwards, I of course had to have the external vent. So, because I hadn't seen Darcy yet, because we kind of ships passing, I had my earbud in. I'm like, I'll talk to you after. And then she's like, how was your day? And I was like, not good. Like I'm actually, I'm upset, and I don't really know why. And then I was like, you know what, this isn't me anymore. I don't know why I thought, it's like putting on, a shirt. I don't know. It's not, there's no good analogy for it. Negation acknowledged. I was like, this isn't, I just kept saying to myself, and I feel like it is a negation by something. This isn't me. Like, this isn't me anymore. Why am I trying to force myself back into this role that I've been trying to get away from? So yeah. And then I just had a little bit of a moment. And then, so between the two things, just venting to my partner and then writing it out. And then by the next morning, I had already more or less reframed it and did my usual like workout routine and everything. And I was like, you know what, I can do this. It's all good. And at the same token, I wasn't super hard on myself, because again, the awareness. So to get back to your question, awareness and acceptance. So I accept myself in all, whatever, the good, bad, the ugly, of how, whatever feelings I'm having, I accept that. It's fine. I don't get hard on myself for having feelings. The double arrow, or the second arrow, they call it, right? You already feel bad. Why dogpile on yourself if you're already feeling bad? Just allow that to happen. There's something there, and then move on. And then as soon as you have that acceptance of there's no good or bad emotion, there's just emotions. So yeah, that's the answer.
Okay. So
Yeah.
read this sentence and breathe and tell me how that makes you feel.
Sure. I accepted my decision openly. Ooh, I like it. I like it a lot. It feels very open, very clear, and a lot of space to it.
Read it one more time.
I accepted my decision openly. Ooh, yeah, I like that one a lot. Yeah, that one has a lot of space to it.
Okay, and now read that, please.
I accept me.
And breathe.
I don't think I've like literally ever said that to myself.
How does that make you feel when you read that? Do you feel like it's a valid statement? Does it feel, what are you feeling there?
Yeah, it is. It's valid. It seems so simple, but it's something. Those three words in that sequence that I've overlooked. I literally don't think I've ever said that to myself. So
now, if you want to try what we did in the other win, just 3 words. If you want to read it 3 times and just see emphasis on I or accept or me, do any of those 3 resonate with you? So let that sit with you. Let's focus on this one a little bit longer.
Sure. Okay. So just try basically start with like I, for
Yeah.
example.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so okay. So I accept me. I accept me. I accept me.
Don't forget to breathe.
It's definitely the first one, like the
Yeah.
I
Okay.
accept me. It really,
Since I can't capitalize I anymore,
yeah.
this is for that one. I just, oops.
Okay.
And then you can read that one more time and breathe after.
Yeah. I accept me. Yeah, I like that one.
Okay. And we're going to go now with, I had a thought. Okay, read that for me. Oh, I'm sorry. You probably can't see.
No, yeah.
I
If
think it
you
went to the next page. Yep.
okay, beauty. Okay. Okay, so I bounced back very quickly.
And breathe. And that one.
Okay. I bounced back quickly.
Difference in feeling with that one.
I like the second one. Yeah, I bounce back quickly.
Okay. And one more, and you use this word, but this is, I think I read your mind here, or you read my mind, because this is where I was, oops,
Mm.
what I got from the story.
Oh, cool. Okay. I'm resilient. Yeah, so that one feels like a very much like part of my people say my truth, right? Yeah, that's a big one for me. Yeah, that one resonates very strongly.
All right, so I'll just change that to, oops, oops, okay. Since that one resonates, I'll just put that one in capitals.
Yeah, I like it.
Good, good. Adding for your sheet. All right, let's look at the third, oops, third win. Okay,
All righty.
let's read that one.
So win number 3, Bentley's surgery. My faithful beagle, Bentley, needed both of his canines extracted recently. He loves his frozen soup bones, or beef soup bones, a little too much to the point of damaging both teeth. My brave little dude went into surgery and got put under and did the deed. We were nervous going in, as you never know how the dog does when he gets put under. He came out several hours later, dopey and minus 2 teeth, and he was happy to come home. I am happy to report that I was able to guide my mind to positive thoughts regarding the outcome, spending precious little bandwidth on what if scenarios, something I used to do much more.
Okay. And how do you feel after reading that one?
I got like emotional reading it.
I'm sorry, say that again.
I got emotional reading it. Just thinking.
What do you think? What about it?
Yeah, just the way I was wording about him is like just endearing. So then I started thinking about the day again and just kind of, I I just like I think the phrase "my brave little dude" kind of set me off a little bit. Just gave me a little bit of emotional tinglies.
Right. Well, it's your baby in a way.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay. Let's go with this sentence. Um, I lost my spot there now. I lost my, sorry.
No, it's all good.
Um, Oh, there it is. Okay.
Got it. Mm.
Okay. So read that for me.
Okay. I was able to guide my mind to positive thoughts.
How does that feel?
Cool. I really like the word guide because I used to use or frame it as like you got to control your mind, which of course has a much more sinister kind of feel to it. I like the guide sounds gentle and understanding, so I like the use of guide.
Okay. Go to a little different twist here. Oops. Okay. Read
Okay.
that one, please, and breathe.
I focused on being positive.
How does that feel to say?
Good. Um, it's it's kind of got two different energies to it because there's still an implication or an acknowledgement that there is the other side, right? That it's so there's some real there's it feels like there's some like realism attached to it because you say I'm focused on being positive. So by focusing on the positive, you're still acknowledging that there, was the potential for negativity or for your mind to go that way. So it's kind of got a unique sort of duality energy to it. And the focus is implying choice. It was my choice to do that, and there's a little bit of work to it. It can be tricky, right? When you're faced with conflicting emotions, to focus just on one and try to not necessarily avoid the other one, but again just focus on the one is can be a bit of a it's can be it's not chore's not the right word, but there's some energy attached to it, right?
Absolutely. All right, slight change, and tell me if this has a different feeling or resonates with you differently.
Okay. I focus on being positive. Yeah, it definitely has a different vibe to it.
And how different in what way?
It feels more open because it feels more like future planning because it's so there it has this allowance to it because it's yeah, I think just the change of tense, past to just present slash future planning kind of feel to it. So this one felt more open and able to receive.
Okay. Read
Okay.
that, please, and breathe.
I focus on me. Yeah, interesting.
Describe the feels there, because it seems like it's something different percolating, maybe.
Yeah, for sure. So wasn't expecting it in this context, I guess, because it was very much my thoughts and my energy focusing on an external circumstance, or so I thought, right? But then when you get to this stage where you say I focus on me, in a sense, I'm focusing on what I can control in this situation that is essentially like, out of my control in a lot of ways. It's still an
Right.
external circumstance with my dog, but now we're talking, or not but, and we are sort of distilling it down to the fact that I am focusing on me and what I can bring to this situation involving my dog. So super cool. I didn't, negation acknowledged, didn't see it coming. And I like
Okay.
it. So it's cool.
Okay. Is there any particular one that resonates with you more in terms of those words in
Oh, as far as
intonation?
like with the I focus on me.
And if you change the intonation, is there anything on there? Well, since we'll just stick with that theme, and then I have one more I have for you.
I would go with the word focus. I
Okay.
focus on me.
Okay. And we're gonna go with a slightly different twist based on, now I know it's hard to see, so we'll go back up to the last bit of what you said, and that's where I'm going with this one.
Okay.
Read that, please, and breathe.
Okay. I create positivity. Yeah. I like the idea that it's a choice. It's always there. So it's my choice to marginalize it and see it. So it's a very empowering.
And read that, please, and breathe.
I create me. Come here. Yeah, I like that.
How does that make you feel?
Yeah, that's like empowerment on steroids. Like it's like it's I really like that. I'm a sucker for the word create and creation. So to put it in an affirmation like that, a nice, simple, distilled, lots of space affirmation like that, it's great. It feels
When-
really truthful. It's empowering. What I mean by empowering is like everything is a choice, right? Everything that it's like the Shakespeare quote, like there's no good or bad. It's the story that we attach to it.
yes.
So I can't say it any better than just those three simple words. So I love it.
Oh, I'm glad. I think too, when you uh take out the I think, right? Always catching myself, right? We're
Yeah,
works
yeah,
in progress. When
yeah.
you had mentioned something a short while ago about one of the phrases, like it opens it up, it kind of, or as you put it, on steroids, right? So it's almost like blow the door off the hinges, because when we think about what our potential is, and even where you were, backtrack pre that. So was it the 6 months that you took off? And again, power to you for rocking that 6 months. I was like, wow.
Yeah,
I
thank
mean, you
you.
did more in 6 months than some people do in 60 years, But when you
Thanks.
think about where you were, so when you made the decision to go into coaching, was that just before you started that 6 month break? Is that why you took that?
You know what? Not even. It's a good question. It was just a feeling I had. That I am missing something. So it was a hunch. It was an intuition, and I followed that. And it was just one thing after another just started coming. It was like I was solving a mystery or something, right? The mystery of what I'm going to do with my life, basically. And just going in there with like blind faith and just knowing, having enough self-confidence that I know I work hard and I am organized.
You're resilient.
Right. And yeah. And just things literally just started coming. I started seeing, I was open to it, right? As I started seeing, synchronicities and just being open, being open to things, keeping my ego as low, or trying to keep it as non-existent as I can. And before you know it, just one thing led to another. And then the coaching thing was probably like a month and a half into my 6 months off. I had all these other plans, but I didn't connect the dots in such a way that I'm like, oh, I'll do coaching. Then looking back on it, I'm like, well, I've been coaching like my whole career. Like I've already been doing this. And that was what I loved about my previous job, and still do, is that aspect of it. I love helping people. I love making people feel good about themselves and collaborating and things of this nature, right? So it was there the whole time, but just to kind of properly label it or frame it or however you want to say, and go, okay, that's it. Coaching. Yeah, that's me. So
Yeah,
that's
but when I hear what you just said about that process, and I love the Canadian accent when you say process.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, can you say that again? I love Canada. I've been all over Canada.
Oh, that's awesome.
East to west. I've not done Saskatchewan and Manitoba, but I think I've done every other area.
That's awesome.
But when
Cool.
you think about that, well, when you contemplate what you just said in that very short explanation of, well, the coaching idea was a month and a half in, but had these ideas a little bit before that.
Mm-hmm.
And as you said, being open and putting ego aside, in essence, you did create you. So that's what when you say that was like, I forgot what you were before, I was caught up on the word steroids when you're like, it's what you said, affirmation, what you might have said, affirmation on steroids.
Right.
But then obviously, it resonates with you and it makes sense. And you said that you liked it. So it didn't seem like something that was far reaching.
No.
But your explanation just now to me is the explanation of I create me. Because you did, you went with a feeling. You're like, well, I wasn't sure. I've been coaching and doing different things. It kind of made sense to follow this path, even though I wasn't thinking, quote, coaching initially. I had these other thoughts and then other plans, other courses I was doing. But I think you actually said open-minded, right? So it's because you're open, because you're resilient, that you are enabling this process, this creative process, since you like that word so much, right? You're open to this creation and this transformation of yourself because you're not closed-minded, and you went with your feeling, with your gut, with this sensation that so many people are often closed to in their lifetime, and how much do they miss out on, right? I use the reference of, and it's good to have direction and be focused, of course, but I use the reference of the thoroughbred about to run the Derby, if you're American racing, right? The Kentucky Derby, or the horse in the gate for the main event, and it's got the blinders on, and the horse knows, bell goes off, gate opens, you charge to the finish line to be the first one across the finish line. And that's great in a certain context, but we can't live our lives that way. Negation acknowledged, right? It's being open to, was it Mark that was saying, or someone was saying, I think it was a one-on-one, but maybe I heard it somewhere else because I'm been submerging in these so much. I think it might have been this, where I'm pretty sure it's Mark. He's like, it's not a straight line.
Yeah. I remember him saying that as well. Yeah.
Yes, right. It's a wave, right? The ebb and flow of life. There's, as I tell my clients when they're trying to lose weight, I'm like, to put it into perspective, because a lot of them are in finance, I'm like, or understand business, I'm like, the market doesn't always go up, the scale doesn't always go down. There's going to be that ebb and flow. And when you're open to that, going back to that word creative process, then because you are open, and which that could be another affirmation, I'm open to me, right? We could put it down there, right? Just to have, but it's because of who you are that you are creating you. And that's, I'm glad that you love that, because that's It is a really powerful statement, but I'll just write it down if you want to have it. I'm open to me that you have there.
I like that
Um,
too. Yeah, for sure.
any other closing feelings? I mean, it was fantastic to be able to coach with you and work with you, and
Yeah.
love
No,
that. So,
you did a great job. You know what what I'd say that I really enjoyed about your coaching technique is uh it almost felt like we were on like a podcast, because you have these like really thoughtful questions to kind of almost as icebreakers to kind of get the energy and the feelings going before we even started, which I really liked, because it's kind of like almost before we got into it, you almost like set the table. You know
yeah,
what
I
I
don't
mean?
know what happened to me there, though. Yeah.
Yeah, which was super cool, and I appreciated, you know, you had a little bit of like, you know, you referenced some of the stuff that you'd seen with Mark and I, so you kind of, you know, yeah, you did some preparation, which was super cool. I appreciate that. Really neat. I like how you did you don't delete anything, you do like the trail, you know, as you go with it. And no, I just, yeah, I had a great time. I love this stuff. I get the impression you do too, because you come off very passionate about it. So as soon as you're with somebody that's very giving and passionate, it just, you know what I mean? The guard comes off right away. Not that I had a guard, but if I did, it was long since gone. So you just get into it, and I love it. I'm feeling more comfortable articulating myself like this, because for a while I very kept my emotions to myself, or very private, or, you know, and I would have a hard time explaining it. So, and I still kind of do. You could probably tell there's a few times I'm like, yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna say here. But all in all, yeah, it was great, and yeah, I feel very privileged that I had you as my coach. So thank you very much. You
Oh,
did a great job.
thank you very, very much. That's wonderful to hear. And it is a process, right? And I think just the fact that, here we all in level two, we're, dealing with, got through getting the stuck out, and now celebrating these wins is, for some people it's more natural than others. I know for me, it's always been a challenge, but it's, celebrating who we are is really so empowering, because the more we learn and master those skills for ourselves, we can share that with others. I'll hit stop the recording for
Yeah, for
everybody.
sure.
There we go.